The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be here on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're back by popular demand. He's a wonderful author who wrote Tales from the Day, and we talked about how he's been in radio for quite some time. He's been in Las Vegas and had a lot of interesting stories as well, too, from Tales from the Day. We talked about the day Kenny's cousin tried to kill us all, the day we pitched the loan shark, and the day we sparked the riot in Fargo, and there's a lot more, and there's just a lot to talk about. But before we do that, he has a book called You're an Author, Just Don't Get Hustled, and he's going to show you how to do it without getting hurt, getting screwed, or whatever. And live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studio, somewhere in the United States, ladies and gentlemen, back once again, author Wayne McFarland. Wayne, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us again.
Mighty Mike, delighted to be here. I've been looking forward to this. So, thank you. Great intro. Appreciate it very much.
And it's great to have you back as well, too. And you're author of Tales from the Day. And we also talked about some of the chapters from your wonderful book as well, too, which is available on Amazon and others as well, too. And you also have a new book called You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled. It's about how to launch a book without getting hurt, hammered, fleeced, scammed, or just come up with whatever you have on there, and maybe a little bit of Tales from the Day. And before you know all that, quickly tell us how I got started once again.
Well, you want to talk about You're an Author? I wrote it after my experience in publishing my book, Tales from the Day. And thanks for the plug. Yeah, it's on Amazon. And You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled. At Tales from the Day, I had a publisher, a real live publisher, who I fired after about a year because I noticed they weren't selling any books, and which I kind of viewed as their job. And went out on my own, and I'm pleased to say we sold more books in a couple of weeks than they had in a year, which is a whole different thing. But one thing I noted is that as soon as I went out on my own, outside of a supposedly legitimate publisher, I got to tell you, Mike, every scam artist and con person on the planet started calling and emailing me, all telling me they're going to make the book a bestseller. And
isn't that true these days? Thanks to social media and whatever's on the internet, it has to be true. Don't they say that? It's going to be number one. They place it on the internet and says, well, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true.
Exactly right. And, just write them a check, and you probably get a little bit of that yourself running a successful podcast and broadcast operation, where you probably get a lot of people contacting you saying, Mike, we'll get you syndicated worldwide. Just write us a check for $5,000 or whatever.
Yeah. So, you know what I tell them? Send me a check first, and then we discuss. That's what I tell them. It's like, you send me the money first, and you show me. That's what I always tell them.
Yes. And what I found in the publishing world is that I was invited to speak at a seminar, and I swear, Mike, if they'd had tomatoes, they would have been throwing them at me, because the scam artists will essentially take the position that the only reason your book isn't selling 1 million copies is promotion. No, the first thing I told the seminar, I said, the first thing is, if your book isn't selling, maybe it sucks. I mean, you got to face that, right? Mm-hmm. And there's no amount of promotion or, media advertising or social media or whatever that's going to make a bad book good. You might have an initial surge of sales, but it's like going to a movie that's been hyped, and then the audience looks at the movie and the attendance drops way to nothing because the movie's terrible, right?
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, on that basis, they asked me, both being a published author and an independent, what are the 3 things you would recommend to somebody putting their book out there? And the first thing, of course, I'd recommend is that you get in contact with a good editor who doesn't have a dog in the fight. In other words, they're not trying to become your publisher, get you to pay them to advertise your book. They edit books, and you find the right editor, and they'll not only tell you if your book is good or bad, but they can help you make a marginal book a great book. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is get a good editor. The second thing I said that you do is, and once you get the first one out of the way, the second most important thing is find Mike Wagner.
That is one of the best suggestions. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Find people who are doing good work, podcasts and broadcasters, and show them what you got. And if they like it, you go on the air with them. It's fantastic. And the third thing I said is think about sending out press releases. There's a company out there called Send to Press, the numeral 2. And for a couple of $100, and I've done a lot of press releases in my day, they'll get press releases out to a lot of major literary and other publications. For example, they sent out a press release for Tales from the Day, and I got coverage all over the place. One of them being the leading book magazine of up-and-coming things people should look at on Broadway in New York. And that was from a press release. So it was certainly worth the money, and that was just one of the responses. So what you run into, and I know you know some up-and-coming authors, Mike, mm-hmm. is that probably the worst thing, everybody wants to get a publisher or an agent, which I did and now have done again. But something that people have to recognize is that any publisher who, I use the word publisher in quotes, who tells you, well, you've got to have sold 1,000 books on your own, or you've got to have a blog with, thousands of followers, we don't want to talk to you. They're a scam. They're not really a publisher. And they want an author who doesn't know anything about marketing to do all the heavy lifting, and then once it's proven to be potentially successful, of course they'll step in. and publish it. And there's other certain types of folks that say they're a publisher, but they really aren't. They ask you to buy your books from them, which you can buy cheaper from Amazon. I'll get into that in a minute. And they'll do things like say, Mike, we got a great promotion. We'll do X, Y, and Z on Facebook. And the cost of the promotion is only $2,000, and we'll split it with you because we're wonderful people. Well, the cost of the promotion is really only $800. Mm-hmm. And so you send them $1,000 for your half, right? And you've paid for the promotion plus $200 for their lunch money. So
exactly, and of course that's another way of making Bezos indirectly rich again. I mean, he's getting close to be a trillionaire thanks to everybody buying from Amazon.
Yeah, he does need our money, poor guy. And so that's something to watch. And there's any company out there who says they're a publisher, but they don't have the machinery to take your book and put it out there without expecting you to be hewer of water and, drawer of water and hewer of wood. They're not legitimate. But one thing to bear in mind is for new authors is that when you look for an agent or a publisher, one thing that's happened in the marketplace, it's so fragmented now that you got to realize that both authors or publishers and agents, they have areas of specialty. Like a particular agent or publisher might specialize in romance, or they might specialize in young adult or whatever. So if you've got a cookbook and you send it to an agent that specializes in what are called bodice rippers, romance novels, yeah, you have them. They're going to publish it. They don't know anything about it. It's not their area of specialty. Same thing with an agent. So the first thing to do is to really spend some time and research agents and publishers and their area of specialty. So if you want to give yourself a chance to get a representation, that's the way to do it. And also, when you talk to or you send information to an agent or a publisher, bear in mind that you may have written the great American novel, but they're in business to make money. Mm-hmm. So the question they're going to have is, why should I take this on? I mean, I got people throwing stuff at me all day. So what you want to do as a new author is write them no more than a one-page long pitch letter and say, if you're in the romance field, say, I have a book about a, 17-year-old virgin princess that was shipwrecked in a wild island and meets, the leader of an Arab tribe, and they fall in love and blah, blah. In other words, give them in the opening, give them what you got. And then, and don't go out after an agent or publisher until your book is done, till you've gone through the editing process. If you've written Harry Potter and you've published a few books, then you can pitch a publisher on, I got this idea, and they're going to listen to you. But for Uncle Mike and his favorite nephew Wayne, I mean, they're going to say, "Who are these guys?" And so,
who are you? Did I see you on Facebook or something? Was that Instagram or Twitter? I forget.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the way you do that, and just be very, very careful. There's tons of people out there that run seminars, or they want you to sign up for a seminar that'll show you how to write a bestseller. If you've got to be shown how to write a bestseller, you're not going to write one. I mean, it's that simple. And you also got to ask yourself, if these folks know how to sell 1 million books, why aren't they selling 1 million books? Because they're not. They're making their money getting Mike and Wayne to write checks to them to learn how to do something they're not doing. Mm-hmm. So you got to be very, very cautious about that. And they're all over the place out there. Mm-hmm. So, those three approaches are what I recommend. And another thing to bear in mind, for the up-and-coming authors, speaking of Jeff Bezos and Amazon, a lot of these fake publishers will say, and Mike, we'll take your book and we'll put you on Amazon and we'll put you on Barnes and Noble, and then we'll sell you hard copies of your book for only $2 over cost, blah, blah. Well, Mike, you could put up your book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble in less than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the tools are there. And you put your book up, and then Amazon, bless Jeff Bezos' heart, will sell you copies of your book for a couple of bucks if you're the author.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best deal on the internet. Anybody who wants to mark it up is just putting it up on Amazon under their name and then ordering copies of books and marking them up and selling them to you. So that doesn't make a lot of sense, I don't think. So that's what's going on out there. So I just tell people, be very, very careful.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you another example, Mike. I keep getting things in from, put your book into libraries. There's 10,000 libraries out there, and we'll tell you how to do it. And they all buy copies of books, and
really?
then they're an ongoing revenue source because when your book wears out, blah, blah. Well, first of all, libraries buy books that their readers want to check out and read, like, Hillbilly Requiem or Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So they have the same thing of looking at new books and deciding what they're going to order. So it's really a false premise. Plus the fact that, I tell people, ask yourself, how long would it take and how many checkouts would it take for your copy or your electronic copy of your book to wear out at a library? 50 years, maybe. So,
with the new technology, with ebooks, it can be like 51 they can last, the way things are going these days.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. And so, what it is the companies out there that are doing this sort of thing, they're living on the hopes and dreams of people who want to be a writer or maybe are a writer. That's what they do. They're like a spiritualist con person that says they can contact your dead parent. They make their money living on the dreams and the hopes of their audience, and they fleece them like a sheep.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I got so angry about this, and I had experiences on both sides, that I wrote, "You're an author, don't get hustled." And it's a whole $7. I kept the price as low, close to cost as I could. And it goes through every scam that I ran into that you can run into out there, and a step-by-step way to get your book published. And also what you should look for if you're being scammed. There's certain things to look for. And I'm hoping that people who buy it, it'll save them some heartache. And I'm thankful the reviews have been quite good, and the reception has been quite good. So I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead, too. Very grateful for that as well, too. And we'll talk a little bit about more of your book in just a second. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Podchaser, and over 25 of the podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Wayne McFarland from Tales of the Day with a new book, You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and more here on the Mike Wagner Show. We talked about some of the scams to look up for, what to do, what not to do, and everything else. And, of course, one thing that I was going to get to as well as do. And there are pay-per-clicks out there when it comes to advertising, getting book out there. And should you or should you not do pay-per-clicks? Why or why not?
Well, the answer to that is no. And let me tell you why. Pay-per-click either has a set price or you effectively set it up to bid on per click. So let's say one thing I always tell people thinking about advertising is think about if you're selling a book, for example, say the cost of your book is $15 retail, and your cost is, let's say, $7.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, if your pay-per-click campaign costs you $200, you're going to need to sell 10, 20, 30 books to get your cost back. And when you advertise out there pay-per-click, you really, people need to know what you're doing, and and in a pay-per-click ad, you might have 7 words to talk about what you've got. Now that isn't a lot. You can always put up, "I have a great book, please buy it." There you go.
That's simple enough. That prevents you from getting fleeced.
Yeah, and so what I tell people is, look, it's a business deal. Look at your costs. I have never found pay-per-click, and other authors haven't either, to produce for them. So there's a dead giveaway right there. But you're always on things you're doing, and then we can get to bookstore signings, is what's your cost? How many books do you have to sell? Not your retail price, but retail less your cost. How many books do you have to sell to justify what you're paying for the pay-per-click campaign?
Mm-hmm.
And don't let anybody say, "But Mike, it's great exposure." No, you're not paying for exposure. You can't buy groceries with exposure. You're doing it to sell books. So the next thing is there's companies out there that say, "Mike, we'll get you into bookstores or we'll teach you how to do it." Well, COVID is pretty much taking care of that, but bookstores will be back. And when I'm sorry,
and definitely as well too, you hit on a point about COVID shutting down the bookstores, and you say you can get in the bookstores. I mean, what's the best way for you to get in a bookstore? You just go up to a bookstore and ask, or do you have to go through all kinds of hoops just to get in a bookstore and say, "Hey, I want to do a book signing. How do I do this?"
The bookstores love book signings, but here's the thing to watch out for. And it may be worth it if you're the kind of person who wants to meet people and whatever, but here's what to watch out for. Let's say COVID isn't around. How do you get into a bookstore? Probably you call them. I've called, when I put together a bookstore list to sell my books to them, I called 1,000 bookstores and made a list. That really sucked, but it was effective. So let's say in your area there's 30 bookstores. Just send them an email or give them a call and say, "Here's my book. Here's where you can see it. Give it a little synopsis. Let them go to your website." And most of them will say, "Yeah, we'd love to do a signing." But when you do a signing, the question is, first of all, where are they going to put you? Are they going to put you at a table in the back of the store by the mops? Or are they going to put you out front with some signage? What's the bookstore going to do to advertise you and that you're going to be there?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will ask you for money, to advertise, your stay there. Oh, well, that's nice. So they ask you, I've been asked for as much as $500. Well, how many books is that to sell? And what's their traffic? What are your chances of selling books? Because if not, unless you like the ego of it all, it's a waste of time and money. But in some cases, if you go into a bookstore, you got to figure too, all right, if you're there for 8 hours, and let's say you sell 20 books, and I see emails all the time with people saying, "God, I was at a bookstore, it's magnificent, I sold 20 books." Yeah, but they were there for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so with signage on 20 books, you might make, with the normal markup, probably about $120, $130. We'll divide that into 8. see what you're getting per hour, plus deduct your expenses, your lunch, the beers or Cokes you buy during the day to keep your spirits up.
And of course, don't forget there's the Barnes & Noble, I guess our coffee and cookie area or something in the focaccia sandwiches.
Yeah, you can live on those. So, look at the traffic of the bookstore, and if they start asking you for money, then they're just scamming you. You're just another way for a bookstore to help pay the rent. That's okay. I mean, I'm not offended by that, but, you got to go into it with your heads up and see what they're going to do to advertise it. Some bookstores expect the author to advertise it. Well, what's the point of that? Is that the best expenditure of your advertising dollars? And, what's their foot traffic? What are your chances of selling books? It's a business transaction. And what a lot of people get excited about is, I'm going to do a book signing. Well, maybe not. And then you got to buy a bunch of books to have there. So if somebody wants one, you can sell it to them and sign it. So you got to invest in that. I'm not saying don't do it, but just go into it with your head up, and know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But, Mike, until COVID's over, I don't think it's even an option. It's just not.
Exactly, or maybe like a virtual. I don't think you can sign books virtually, but when I was thinking about the whole thing, before the whole COVID thing, like on your experience or other experiences, how many books does a person sell, signed or not signed, typically at a bookstore? I'd say, what's like the average? Like, say you sign a book and you sell, what's the average about?
Well, assuming you're not Michelle Obama,
I'm not, thank you.
yeah, exactly. And so your book is whatever it is, adventure or whatever it is. If the bookstore has decent traffic, and there's some bookstores have great programs where they feature authors and they have a big following, and they might have 100, 200 people show up to talk to you, So you look at that. But I want to answer your question. A successful book signing for an unknown author who's just meeting foot traffic is 20 to about 40 books. That's average.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes more, sometimes less. And so, it's a risk. But on the other hand, before COVID hit, I was finding in bookstore signings when all was said and done, assuming nobody knew about, I keep waiting for Oprah to call, but she hasn't called me yet to be featured on her book club. So assuming you're like me and nobody knows really much about you or what you got, I was netting probably, I don't know, a couple $100 a day. So if you could do that every day of the week, that'd be great, But usually book signings are weekends, although some bookstores and book clubs, those are great. We'll have regular meetings when they're not worried about dying. And then they'll draw people who are avid readers. And so that's the thing to look for is, does the bookstore have a book club? And do they meet regularly? And if you can pitch to them, chances are you'll do very well.
And it sounds like it, too. And where can we find your book again?
My book, yes. Oh, Mike, God bless you. Both my books, Tales from the Day and You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled. Just go to Amazon and look for them or type in my name, Wayne McFarland, and they'll pop up. Reviews have been kind, and you can see my author page at www.waynemcfarland.com. And there I'll be. And my picture, which is an added bonus.
Oh, that as well, too. And make sure it's signed as well. So we're going to wrap up here in just a minute with Wayne McFarland, what's coming up, a little bit of Tales from the Day and more. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. It's powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web design that blows our competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Wayne McFarland of Tales from the Day, also with a new book, You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled. You can check it out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and more. We also covered a lot of the bases from You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled, on what to do, what not to do. And also, let's go over one more chapter from Tales of the Day, and we can just pick a chapter right here. The day I got a beating from my grandfather for not listening to Uncle Wayne about how not to, get your book published without being scammed.
That's it. That's it exactly. And, like I say, Mike, I was just hoping, I was mad after going through everything with my publisher and all the rest of it. And I wrote You're an Author. I just thought, if it can help even one person from getting fleeced, it's worth it. So, that was my motivation in writing that. Tales from the Day, my motivation was, when we had a business, my wife and I, and we sold it, and I always loved to read, so I started focusing on memoirs. And I read a lot of them, and Mike, most memoirs really suck. I mean, they really do. And, they are like they're cut from a cookie cutter mold. I looked at the mountains and I set my jaw and I said, there lies my future. It doesn't work like that.
but it was on a dark, stormy night, though.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And, but normally people stumble around, and I don't know what your path was that led you to this show. But I'll bet in looking back, it looks like a straight line. But at the time, it looked like kind of, lurching from one thing to another, and who knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote Tales from the Day, 27 tales of things, like you say, getting a beating from my grandfather, or the day Johnny Cash hit on my wife, or pitching the loan shark, or whatever. And all of them were short chapters, basically. Each one a complete rendition of an occurrence. And, Mike, I was told by more than one publisher that I was crazy, that it's not the way it was done, that memoirs had to have what they call the narrative arc, where you start with, I was born, or whatever, like Charles Dickens, and then go through the time you caught cancer and you persevered and came out the other end and all that. And I just thought, that's not the way it happens usually. And so I wrote it up the way I wanted to, and in our 240 character world, Mike, it proved to be pretty popular.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how Tales came about, mostly out of my conviction that most people were just... Will Rogers, an old humorist, had a great line. He said, when you write about all the things you did not do and leave out all the things you did do, that's a memoir. And that's pretty much everybody's approach, right? So I tried to write in the things I did do, so, and some of them were pretty strange, I thought.
Yeah, just like the day I got a beating from my grandfather, the day they tried to kill us in Arkansas for not buying the book You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled, the day Johnny Cash hit on my wife because he went the wrong way about going through an agent, got fleeced for $1,000, and the day the Lord worked in a mysterious way and say, hey, bonehead, pick up this book and do something right for a change.
Yes, Mike, you're right. Perfect. Oh, I love that. That's great.
and of course, I'd be glad to talk about my career with you as well too. If you had a podcast or something you want to add a memoir to a book, I'd be more than glad to do that. And I'll tell you up front, I'll give you a little bit of a tease. Mine wasn't always a straight line. It was always full of curves, roadblocks, and everything else. And it was a straight line. Oh God, my life would be boring, So.
Yep. That's it. You got it. And the curved road is by far more interesting than the straight line.
Mm-hmm. And of course, speaking of curved roads and things are interesting, what can we expect from you in 2020 and beyond, going into 2021, Wayne?
Well, that's interesting because I've been really thinking about that a lot. The original version of Tales from the Day had 8 fewer chapters, so we got some good response to it, and the consensus was, hey, write another book. So I cranked out 8 chapters, and then, I found I'm just not very good at taking events that aren't too interesting and somehow pumping them full of air so maybe they'll be interesting. And I realized one day I just squeezed that lemon dry, so I added 8 chapters to Tales. And for my next thing, I think it'll be a kind of a Monty Python and now for something totally different moment.
Oh, I love Monty Python. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. So you got to send me, as soon as that book comes out about Monty Python or something completely different, send it to me right away. We'd love to have back on it. And, and you can do a silly walk in the meantime, too. So
You got it, friend Mike. I'll do it.
Sounds great. And lastly, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point, especially if you're an author?
Well, the best advice I can give, and I know it sounds a little hackneyed, but, there's a lot of folks out there who will try and take your money to tell you how to write a book and sell a lot of copies of it. And most of that advice consists of, okay, Mike, figure out what's hot in the marketplace. Is it the keto diet? All right, write a book about the keto diet and then advertise it all over Amazon and sell a lot of copies. Well, to me, that's not writing. What I tell people, look, is write what moves you. I'm not good at writing books about whatever the latest fad is, and then trying to sell 1,000 copies and going on the next one. I'm no good at that, and I think authors and real writers, they're moved to write something, whether it be an adventure or whatever it may be, and just follow that and just do it and get yourself a good editor and don't worry about anything else. And maybe it won't sell. It might sell a lot, but at the very least, you'll have done it. And you can sit down and look at the book and read it yourself and say, hey, I did this. This did not exist in this world until I made it exist. It's one of the very... Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can finish here.
I was going to say it's one of the very few things I know that a human being can do and create out of their own mind, and it has substance, and other people can grasp it. There's very, very few opportunities as a person to do that.
Mm-hmm. And that's wonderfully so, too. Once again, author Wayne McFarland of You're an Author, Don't Get Hustle, also from Tales of the Day here on the Mike Wagner Show. Wayne, to get back, thank you for your time. You're always fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, where can people purchase your books?
Well, thank you, Mike. My books can be purchased on Amazon, probably the best place to do it. That's Tales from the Day and You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled. And and my website is www.WayneMcFarland. That's McFarland, as in David, .com. And you can contact me through there, and I love talking to people and giving what tips I can. So please just email me, and we'll get to know each other a little bit.
That sounds wonderful. Again, Wayne, thank you for your time. You're always fantastic. Looking forward again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on 2020 and beyond. And let's not get hustled this time. Let's enjoy more Tales from the Day.
Thank you, sir.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.